want to extend a big thank you to Tara Nelson of Unseen to Irresistible for providing us all this opportunity. Now, when I was a kid, my parents were always fighting, and I was always walking on eggshells. I came to believe that if I just do everything perfectly, I can be good enough. But I now know that perfect is impossible, and impossible is stressful. Stress and anxiety became my new normal, but normal does not mean healthy. I was only 46 when I collapsed on my basement floor. I had a stroke. My stress and anxiety caused my blood pressure to skyrocket, and that caused my brain to hemorrhage. Having a stroke challenged everything I thought I knew. It even challenged who I thought I was. Imagine me confined to a wheelchair in a nursing home at the age of 46. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, well, I have stress, Sonya, but that doesn't mean I'm going to have a stroke. Which is true. I mean, I had an actual physical stroke. But let me ask you, what will your stroke look like? I mean, for you, it might be different than it was for me. For some people, it shows up as belly fat, that stubborn weight that you just can't get off. It may be diabetes, maybe high blood pressure. For some people, it's brain fog. You know, when you just don't remember things like you used to, and you don't have clarity and focus. For some people, it shows up as burnout. I mean, the overwhelming, absolute stress, anxiety, depression, overwhelm. It gets you in its grip. So here's the thing. Now is the time to take action. I want to stay positive because I think we all need that. But I also want to acknowledge where we are in this time. COVID-19. We are under self-quarantine or safer at home or whatever they're calling it in your area. We aren't going to work unless we're an essential employee, and then we might even be afraid to go to work because we don't know what that means for us. We might be wondering how our bills are going to be paid, how our mortgage is going to get met, how food's going to get put on the table, if our landlord's going to evict us. Now, I'm not trying to be doomsday here, but there are a lot of potential threats facing all of us. And in order to navigate through these challenging times, I believe that we need to be willing to disrupt the status quo, disrupt negative mindsets, disrupt old thinking paradigms in order to allow our brains and our spirits and our connection with each other to discover something new, something better, something we hadn't even thought about before. So even though what's going on right now is disruptive, with every disruption, we have the opportunity to discover something better, maybe even something magical. Now, this might seem like an unlikely time that I discovered my magic moment, but sometimes it's when you're pushed the hardest that you will find it. Mine was when I was stuck in the nursing home. So literally stuck there. I mean, I remember trying to leave in my wheelchair to go sit on the patio. I couldn't even do that without a nurse to accompany me. I felt pretty stuck. But in this process, I saw that if I did not disrupt the status quo, if I didn't disrupt them telling me I wouldn't ever get any better than I was, if I didn't disrupt my negative self-talk, I was never going to discover my ZaZaZu. I really wanted my ZaZaZu. It didn't matter Well, it did, but I was willing to discover it if it was going to be in a wheelchair or if it was going to be able to walk. I just had to get it back. Well, what is ZaZaZu? ZaZaZu is your own personal magic. It's that little essence, that thing that makes you uniquely you. And I believe we all deserve to find our ZaZaZu. Now let me introduce myself. I am Sonya Sullins. I am a life coach. I'm a functional health coach. And it's my mission to help us all live our lives to the fullest and not let things drag us down that we later look back on and go, wow, I wasted a lot of years, a lot of happiness not having ZaZaZu. So what did I do? Well, I researched and I studied and I documented. I just literally immersed myself and made it a mission for years. A mission to do what? To discover what I didn't know, that I knew was out there. So in this process, I did discover some things. The mainstream is full of myths and misinformation. It's really all so confusing. You hear one thing and then you hear the opposite thing, which is the right thing. So I made it my mission to sort of sift through that so I could come up with a plan and a process that I felt was going to be the most results driven, the most successful at achieving vitality for me and for others, our ZaZaZu. And in this process, I developed the Disrupt to Discover method. And I'm really, really proud to say that it'd be one thing to have the Disrupt to Discover method and I got some results, but I've helped hundreds of women and men who are just like you find their path to ZaZaZu. Right now, as we're facing this big disruption, I want to share with you some strategies that will help you to discover how to get your ZaZaZu. And I'm going to break it down into 3 areas today. 1, optimize your hormones to disrupt belly fat. 2, feed your brain gratitude to disrupt brain fog. And 3, I want to balance our nervous systems to disrupt burnout. Okay, let's start with belly fat. In times of uncertainty, like now with COVID-19, it brings up fear and anxiety. We didn't see it coming, and certainly not to this extent. We don't know where it's going, and we don't know when we might get back to where we were. We don't know if we'll get back to where we were. So just like me having the stroke, I had to give up my notion of getting back to who I was. I had to let that go in order to be accepting of what the new normal is, of who I am now. And that's kind of what we're all faced with today on some level. But when there is this high anxiety, we're worried about the past, we're worried about the present, we're worried about the future, we're just worried, period. It hijacks our bodies and our brains. And you know what we do? I know what we do because I've done it, and I know that many of you are doing it. It's blowing up my phone, my text, my Facebook messages. I'm hearing it everywhere. You know what we do? We stress eat. We binge eat. And that in and of itself causes problems. Now think about it this way. When you're socially distanced from the rest of the world, you're not socially distanced from that refrigerator, right? We spend all day in our stretchy pants, so they're a little bit forgiving. We don't notice when those pounds start creeping on like we would if we had to get ourselves into our skinny jeans. But we're just a few feet away from the refrigerator, from the snack cupboard, from the pantry. And when we're nervous or bored or anxiety ridden, munch, 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 snack, snack, snack. It's the perfect storm for weight gain. And that leads to declining health. So it's very important from a health standpoint physically. It's very important from a mental health standpoint. because of the stress and anxiety. But it's more than the vanity of like, oh, she's just worried she's not going to fit into her skinny jeans, her perfectly fitting jeans. Well, I want to have the confidence and the happiness, and I want to be able to show up fully in my life. And I'm not going to do that when I can't fit into my clothes. I need to be the best me, and that means also physically. Now, almost 3/4, 75% of this nation's adults are in the obese to overweight category. Seriously. Health conditions come slamming into you once you get to a point which really seems low, because our population is so overweight now that it's actually becoming normal to be overweight. So I just want to kind of put that out there, that do this for you, for your future, for your children, for your grandchildren, and so that you do not have to live a mediocre life because you feel sick all the time. And then more advice on how to do that right now is coming with hormones, right? Hormones, they affect everything. But there are some things you can do right now to help balance out some of the culprits. So right now, like I said before, I got all kinds of people binge eating, but what people are telling me is like, dang it, my weight shot up. I don't even think I ate differently. Maybe they did, but they didn't think so, right? Not significantly. And they can't budget. They can't, the normal things they would do to lose weight aren't working now. But you know what is different? Stress. It feels like a vicious cycle because it is a vicious cycle. Under stress, you can be cutting calories, you can be exercising more, and the scale goes up and up and up. It's not in your imagination. This is true. Stress makes cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. Stress makes cortisol increase, and too much cortisol makes you fat. It really does. And too much cortisol also stimulates your appetite. Double whammy. So what else happens? Stress and anxiety, as we've talked about, causes emotional eating. Emotional eaters tend to binge, and they tend to binge on sugar. So let's take a look at that for a second. When you eat too much sugar, your body produces too much insulin. Well, what does that mean? Well, insulin is the fat storage hormone. Now, maybe you haven't struggled with weight gain yet, but if you have carb addiction, if you're struggling with cravings, those pesky pounds are literally just around the corner. You know, this reminds me of one of my coaching clients. Her name is Kathy. Beautiful woman, but you know what was happening? She couldn't stop the cravings. Like, you know how when you go to bed at night and you tell yourself, tomorrow's gonna be a different day. I'm gonna be good tomorrow. I'm not gonna eat all this junk tomorrow, right? Then tomorrow comes and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel weak, I feel dizzy, I'm ornery, I need to eat, I need a snack. So that's what was happening to Kathy. Even after eating dinner, knowing she's had enough food to be full, she's still looking for another snack. So, strict dieting, strenuous exercise, kind of getting into some bad eating habits, just trying to manage this. And you know what? Nothing she did could budge the pudge. It wasn't going anywhere. So the first step she took in working with me to help her was to take my online ZaZaZu health assessment. It's free. It's at SonyaSullins.com. You can go there now or later and take it for yourself. So another thing that you can do, which I really highly recommend, it sounds annoying. I'm not saying you need to do it for a lifetime, but for now, you need to download an app like Carb Manager or something like that, right? Track everything that goes into your mouth. Get a handle on where you're at now. And then commit to whittling away the carbs so you can whittle away your waste. And now I'd like to talk about brain fog. Do you have brain fog? I mean, maybe for you, it's forgetting where you put the car keys. Maybe it's not having the bandwidth to mentally finish or a project or start a project. Maybe it's that fuzzy feeling that makes learning new information really difficult. Brain fog can cause feelings of anxiety, depression, lack of motivation. And did you know that chronic anxiety can also cause brain fog? It's a two-way street. So what should you do? The same advice I had in section 1 on belly fat holds true here too. For brain fog, I want you to keep in mind, reduce cortisol, reduce stress. In fact, the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio, they found that high levels of stress and the resulting high levels of cortisol increased memory loss and brain shrinkage. You know what that means? Cognitive decline. The scary part about this is that the participants in this study, 48 years old, and they'd already shown dramatic shifts in their brain. So we need to get a handle on it. We need to have a strategy. And it's even more important to do that in these high stress times. So here's a little talked about fact, and it's something you can start doing today. Feed your brain healthy fat and no sugar. Yes to fat, no to sugar. If you do that, you'll be able to balance your hormones, reduce cravings, improve chronic conditions, and improve brain health. Bam. So we talk in depth about why this is true and how to do it and how this works in your body and how to tell when it's working for you in my online coaching program, the Disrupt to Discover method. But for now, I want to move on to the strategy that you can do easily for your brain. How would you like to rewire your brain for happiness with gratitude? This is a quote from Oprah Winfrey. Be thankful for what you have, you'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you'll never have enough. Gratitude is said to be a natural antidepressant. This means a great stress reliever. It produces a feeling of long-lasting happiness and contentment. When we express gratitude, our brain releases dopamine, serotonin. What are these? These are two crucial neurotransmitters responsible for our happy emotions. By focusing on gratitude every day, we can help these neural pathways that are in our brain to strengthen themselves and ultimately create a superhighway. And what does that superhighway do? It creates a natural path within ourselves for a state of happiness and positivity. See, we are exposed to negativity. That's become our new norm. We've got to put in effort to reverse it. When we don't carefully curate the environment around us, we go down the negative rabbit hole too. When I was in the nursing home, I felt hopeless and helpless. You probably can imagine how that would feel. I felt like a burden. I was filled with so much negativity. It was eating me up inside. I did not have the bandwidth to be giving away my energy to negativity, but I couldn't seem to help myself. Okay, so then one day, as I'm struggling down the hallway with my walker, a lady, another resident, she came up to me, she stopped me and she said, "Oh my goodness, you're doing so much better. Just look at you. I remember when you first got here, oh, you were in such bad shape. Oh my gosh." Oh, there it was, folks, my wake-up call. It was time to start some heavy-duty gratitude work, because gratitude really does affect your brain, releases toxic emotions, it reduces pain, reduces stress, anxiety, and depression, and improves your quality of sleep. Now, I take you through a number of strategies and exercises in my coaching program so that you can find what feels most comfortable and effective for you. But I've got one for you today that almost everybody loves, and that is a gratitude journal. I really recommend that you start one, whether you've done one in the past, whether you're doing one now, Whether you did one and stopped doing one, just recommit to it. And I want you to do 10 things. 10 things you're grateful for every day. Write them down, type them down, whatever works for you. I remember when I was feeling so low and angry, this is a different story, we'll tell it a different time, but I was doing this exercise and I could not come up with 10 things. I mean, like, I was getting so angry because I'm like, this is impossible. And then it hit me. What do you see here? Yeah, 10 fingers. Now that might seem, oh, you're being trite, Sonya, you're making fun of the process. No, I'm not. Some people don't have 10 fingers, and I do. I'm really grateful that I do. And in that moment, that is what I could start with. So I suggest no matter how small you start, just start. And finally, we're going to talk about burnout. Burnout could be mental exhaustion, it could be physical exhaustion, it could be emotional exhaustion. Burnout is caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, drained, unable to meet the demands going on around you. Okay, so for you, maybe you have a mid-afternoon slump. Maybe you find yourself with a short fuse and snapping at the smallest things or everything. Maybe you suffer from fatigue and you just feel drained and exhausted and you don't even want to get out of bed. Remember how I felt when I was always walking on eggshells? And then how it became harder and harder to manage my stress and anxiety as the years went by? And then my blood pressure skyrocketed and I had a brain hemorrhage. Well, you know what? I was in a serious state of burnout. All of it, it just caught up with me. I'd like to say I'm an isolated incident. I'd like to say like, oh, that was weird. That never happens to anybody. But it's actually quite common. According to WebMD, 75 to 90% of all doctor's office visits are stress-related ailments. Now, the frustrating part for me was that I was doing everything I knew to manage my stress, and it wasn't working. And just like when you diet and fail, when you do anything and fail, well, you feel like a failure. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I feel like a failure, that adds to my stress and anxiety. So my burnout was just consuming me. I was gaining weight for no reason. I couldn't sleep at night, but I was exhausted all day long. I was irritable, sad, I had no motivation, and the list was getting longer. But I now know something that I did not know then. And I'm about to share this little secret with you now. It's something doctors rarely talk about. It's powerfully impactful, and you can do it at home for free. It's a way to connect your body and your brain to fix burnout. It's something we call vagal tone, okay? Improving vagal tone. You might be wondering, what is vagal tone? Well, vagal tone is an indicator of your overall health, and it's said to be your ancient healing pathway. It's part of your nervous system, and it connects your brain to your digestive tract and connects all your organs and essential systems of your body throughout your entire body, and it's a two-way communication system. It's literally what's known as a mind-body connection. Now, high vagal tone can make you happier, healthier, and more resilient, better able to handle stress. And if you're easily stressed, you have trouble calming down after you get upset, or you find yourself always in fight or flight, that means you have low vagal tone. So the vagus nerve, again, we talk about these hormones and endorphins and signals our brain sends. Well, it tells the brain to release the feel-good hormones, again, like the dopamines, like the serotonins. So even though you're giving up your sugar, you got your vagal tone improving, so you can get those good hormones released without the sugar. Okay, so how do we stimulate this vagus nerve? So if we do that, we can improve our vagal tone. And this is a fact. I mean, I'm not making this up, even though you've never heard of it. The FDA has approved a surgically implanted device that's job is to periodically stimulate the vagus nerve and has amazing results with many of the patients that use this device. However, it's invasive and we don't want to start there. So I'm going to share with you some things you can do to improve vagal tone. And free, simple, effective. 1, singing, humming, chanting, and gargling. 2, deep and slow breathing. 3, meditation. 4, probiotics. 5, omega-3 fatty acids. 6, exercise. 7, massage. 8, socializing and laughing. Sorry about the social distancing. 9, acute cold exposure. Now, we don't have time today, but I guide my clients through a really cool exercise that uses methods 1, 2, and 3 from above, all in one technique. So the good news is you get short-term benefits of feeling really awesome and really relaxed when you do this, and you get long-term cumulative health benefits when you do this every day and make it a practice. So just to recap what we've covered today, get rid of sugar to get rid of belly fat, practice gratitude to help clear brain fog, and improve vagal tone to manage burnout. Now, if you are interested in discovering insight into your inner workings, I offer a personalized, free ZaZaZu health assessment that you can take online at SonyaSullins.com. Your individualized results are sent directly to your inbox. And if you want to maximize your results, I also offer a 1-hour complimentary coaching session with me to get to the root of where your goals are and where your challenges are and get your ZaZaZu. You can do that at SonyaSullins.com. Now, before I go, I just want to leave you with this. Your future happiness and vitality, your ZaZaZu, it starts with what you do today. It starts with what you do today. What will life with ZaZaZu look like for you? I mean, imagine how you will feel confidently jumping in front of the camera. Imagine how you will feel when you know your memory will never fail you. Imagine how you will feel when you are energetic, happy, fearless. You can do this. I can help. And together, we can elevate your health and your happiness. Who's ready for ZaZaZu?